Hi sophomores, welcome to week 1 of Multimedia Design and your first true release of the semester. So let's talk about what you need to complete by Sunday. So your banner activity needs to be in by Sunday, your koala and friends needs to be in by Sunday, and a very rough draft of your infographic needs to be in by Sunday. So let's talk about what are all of these things and how you're going to get this module done. So let's start by talking about infographics, and that is going to be a really big component of this week and truly the next couple of weeks moving forward. So all the way up to week 5, you're going to be working on an infographic. And if you remember, during your onboarding, we made sure that you completed a college research spreadsheet. This is where it comes in. You need to have the college spreadsheet ready to go and done, because you're going to be creating an infographic that showcases that data from it. So an infographic is a visual representation of data. It's images and cues heavy. It is not text heavy at all, and it shows your representation of data. So that means that you get to choose how you showcase it. So for example, if I'm looking at distance from home between the 3 colleges that I research as one of the categories I want to showcase in my infographic, I don't have to do a car because that's typically how you measure distance. I could measure it still in miles, but use different representations for it. So instead of cars, I could use airplanes, or I could use bikes, I could use feet, I could use mopeds. There's many different ways to represent that data. So an infographic is truly looking at how you see that data and how you can best represent it. So let's look at some examples of this one. So this one is comparing tuition costs among 4 colleges, and you can easily tell which colleges they are based on their logos. So you have UW-Madison, UW-Milwaukee, Harvard, and Cornell. And you can see that there is a little key for it, and you must have a key for it because we need to understand how you're representing your data. So it tells you that one bill of money is 5,000 and a coin is 1,000. So you can easily add these up and figure out what the tuition cost is. And also this way of representing it makes it easy for you to see which college has the lowest tuition, in this case being UW-Milwaukee. This is another example. This one has a little bit more text, but if you notice, the things that are really big are the images. So let's talk about how to make an infographic. So you first need to examine the data in a spreadsheet. You can choose to make graph bars or pie bars to really look at how they compare. Really up to you. For your infographic, you're going to be doing 3 categories among the 3 colleges. So maybe distance from home, maybe amount of sports, maybe, I don't know, how many dorms there are. It's truly up to you what 3 categories you showcase, but it needs to be for all 3 colleges. So you're going to examine the data. You're going to look at the category among the 3 colleges and figure out, how could I represent this? The next one is to make it fun. Again, you do not want to use bar graphs or pie graphs. I don't want to see any of those. Find different ways to represent the data. And the last one is to polish. So you should make it fun, figure out what are going to be your representations, put it out into the infographic, and then let's polish it. So let's talk about how you can do this. So say I'm looking at tuition. So the first step would be to choose a basic representation for my data. Using a graph allows me to see which one costs the most, which one it's going to have more of my representation, which one's going to have less. My next step would be to create images to represent the data, and you should be drawing these in Illustrator. So I could use money bags, I could use iPhones, I could use cars, I could use planes, pigs, rulers, anything you want. Be as creative as you can be. Then I would look into making the result of this. So I'm going to cover my tuition in iPhones. So we know that an average iPhone 7 costs about $700. So I see how many iPhones it would cost me to go to UW-Madison, how many iPhones it would cost me to go to Stanford, Madison College, and Minnesota. But this is still a lot. You can clearly see Stanford is the most expensive, but we can definitely polish this and bring it down. So you can combine things to make it easier to understand, so you can scale it down. So I can say that 9 phones is about $6,000. So this is a lot more easy to understand than all of the phones that I had before. And it's really up to you to choose your scales and tweak your scales in a way that's going to make sense for your own representation. And again, we don't want to have a bar graph format. Group them up, move them around, make it fun. Choose your representation for your unique needs. So how do you truly accomplish a good infographic, right? So these are all like how to read the data and how to come up with things for the data. There's 2 theories we're going to talk about that truly make an infographic come to life. The first one being the PERC system. And the PERC system is so important that you're not only going to see it this week, you're also going to see it in the next module. So the PERC system calls for 4 things: proximity, repetition, alignment, and contrast. Let's start with proximity. So how near in space they are. So specifically among similar objects. So you should not be putting things that are similar really far away. By this, I mean, if you're comparing the tuition costs among your 3 colleges, you should not put them in like one in each different corner. They should all have a space together where it's easy to read. They might be next to each other. It might be one on top of each other. You get to choose that, but they should be near each other. And again, you should have similar ideas and information grouped together to help your viewer understand the information. The next one is alignment. So it's arranging things in a way that makes sense. So they could be in a straight line or in correct or appropriate relation to each other. You can have everything to the left, everything to the right, everything center, up to you, as long as it's the same for all of them, right? The next one being contrast. So colors should go together. They should be contrasting each other. They should not overpower each other. That way ensures that everything makes sense. Last one being repetition, and that is things that are the same or that could be repeated are repeated. For example, you're not going to just change how you measure distance halfway through your infographic. So if you pick cars as a way to represent distance from home for your 3 colleges, it should be the same for all 3 of them. You can't just change it halfway through. Let's talk about color theory a little bit. And there's different ways that you can group your colors. So you have monochromatic colors, which all stem from like the same hue, the same color line. You have complementary colors that kind of wash each other out. You also have analog colors, which are next to each other in the color wheel. And different colors kind of give off different feelings. It's completely up to you which colors you choose for your infographic. You just have to make sure that they're complementary. You don't want colors that are going to crash together. The ones that are on the screen, they're complementary colors. They kind of wash each other out. They go together in the color wheel. There's going to be a tool for you to use. It's called Adobe Color Picker, and it shows you a color wheel. And once you pick your base color, it's going to show you different color theory combinations that you can use. And when you see it, you're going to see what I'm talking about. So it'll be a big color wheel. You get to pick your base color. It'll give you either complementary colors or monochromatic colors or analog colors, depending on what you're looking for. And you can kind of see what colors will go together in your infographic. And you can pick the theme of your infographic based on that. So let's walk through Canvas to see what you need to complete this week. So you have your week 1 video, which you're watching. You have the presentation. And you have the activity prompt for the infographic. This is the activity prompt for your end product. And this one, your big final infographic is not due until week 5. But it still walks you through what you need to have in order to earn all of your points, so that straight off the bat, you can be working towards that perfect point system. It also gives you a space for you to write down notes so you can start planning. So you have like the schools you research, you should have that done. You can pick up your color scheme and your points of comparison. Again, they can be anything you want them to be, and then it tells you how to submit it. I would make sure to take a look at that so you know what you're working towards for the entire week. You have the Adobe Color Wheel, which you can click on and open it in a new tab. I will exit this, and then you can see what kind of colors am I picking. So I want more like yellows. It will give me the colors right there. And you will notice that they have numbers. You can write down those numbers because when you're working with Illustrator and you're trying to get this exact number, this is called a hex number. If you have your hex number, you can put it in directly and it will give you this exact shade of the color. So I would definitely look at that. And then you're going to have videos for each one of your submissions. So the banner submission will have its own video that will walk you through how to complete the banner activity. You can follow along and get it done. Same with the Koala and Friends activity. This is so that you have a step-by-step on how to use Illustrator and you become more comfortable with it. And the last one is a draft 0 banner and representation of your draft. So using what you just learned about, I want you to just make a draft of what your infographic is going to look like. So this is a draft of the banner, very basic, and a draft of your data. So saying, this is what my banner is going to look like. Here are my colors. Here's my 3 points of comparison. This is maybe what I'm going to use to represent them. It has to be very basic. You can do it in Illustrator. I would recommend you do it in Illustrator so that next week, next module, when we're doing your first official draft, you have something you started. If you have any questions at any point as you're working through this module, feel free to email me and I'll be happy to help. But do make sure that you check out the individual lesson videos that go with each one of the activities you have to do so that you know what you're doing and you can get it done. That is it for this week, and I'll see you next week.